We value open minds and loving hearts. Here may our minds stretch, our hearts open, and our spirits deepen. At the Maumee Valley Unitarian Universalist congregation, we come together as a warm and friendly group of people where our unity in diversity is expressed in the wide range of music, speakers, and Sunday service topics we offer. We encourage you to attend or view several services to gain a good understanding of our congregation. For further news, please remember to read our weekly email newsletter, which provides comprehensive information about everything going on at MVUUC. Visitors, if you'd like to start receiving our weekly email, please make sure to fill out one of the blue cards found in the seat back pockets and put the card in the box on the greeters table in the front entryway. So, let's take a minute to greet our neighbors. The chalice will be lit today by Evelyn Koffler. Please come on up. Oh, did she step out? Oh, no, there she is. Thank you, Evelyn. Yay. Yay, yeah. Please join me in reading the words provided for you as we light the chalice. Here we are together, each facing our different human tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holders of each other's heartaches and tales of joy alike, weavers of one story in which we each have our part. Thank you, Evelyn. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our will, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. So we do have a story for all ages today, and if Noelle has a plan for today, then that's totally fine. That's why it's a story for all ages. So you could check. Yeah, I can stall for a little bit. This is a story called I Am a Story, and the author is Dan Iaccarino. And of course, this is in line with our theme for today, which is the power of stories. A little bit later, Gregg, our presenter for today, is going to share some stories as he is very talented at doing, and we'll try to draw some lessons from those stories as well. Have I stalled long enough? Oh yeah, thanks for the distraction, Steve. Yeah, the projection box is now very high, and now you will not be at risk of blinding yourself as you pass in front of it, or hitting your head if you are assisting. So good to go? Okay. All right. Let's make sure the closed captions are on. But great. Thank you, Lisa.
I'm Dan Yaccarino, and I write and illustrate children's books. And being that we're all sort of cooped up these days, I thought it would be a good idea to read one of my books to you. So today's book will be I Am a Story. I've written and illustrated a lot of books over the years, and I started to think about the idea of how we are given stories throughout time, and that sort of got my brain going, and I started to do some drawings, and from those drawings came this book. So let's read it. I am a story. I was told around a campfire, then painted on cave walls. I was carved onto clay tablets and told in pictures. I was written on papyrus and printed with ink and wood blocks, then woven into tapestries and copied into big books to illuminate minds. I was printed and bound, then acted out on stage. I was read in vast private libraries, then in public libraries open to everyone, and in places you'd never imagine. I made people frightened, excited, sad, and happy. I was censored, banned, and burned, but did not die. I've inspired millions. And I can go with you everywhere. And will live forever. I am a story. The end. Thank you for being such a good.
I assume he's going to say audience. Such good listeners, all of you. All right. So now is the time for sharing of joys and concerns. Lisa, if you could please pause recording of the service at this time. So now, okay, please join us in the singing of hymn number 403, Spirit of Truth, of Life, of Power. And Laura will accompany us. Please stand as you are willing and able.
I'm going to play the hymn one time through so you can hear the melody.
Thank you.
And then you can sing.
everyone. Our opening words today, there's an intro to the opening words, so here we go. Stories. The stories we read, see, hear. Myths, poems, novels, songs, movies, videos on the web. The stories told in games. The stories we tell about ourselves and those that are told about us. All have power. As Jerry Spence, legendary 20th century trial lawyer, puts it, quote, "Storytelling has been the principal means by which we have taught one another from the beginning of time. The campfire, tribal members gathered round, the little children peeping from behind the adults, their eyes wide as silver dollars, listening. The old man, can you hear his crackly voice telling his stories of days gone by? Something is learned from story. The way to surround and kill a saber-toothed tiger, the hunt for the king of the mastodons in a far-off valley, how the old man survived the storm. There are stories of love, of the discovery of special magic potions, of the evil of warring neighboring tribes. All learning has been handed down for eons in the form of stories."
These two stories can seem, depending on what you accept as the outcome, raw, sad, unsettling. It depends on where you look. Each story shows a person in hard circumstances, yet something else emerges, is there, somewhere within the person. An element of life, staying alive, surfacing at times, saying to the world, "I'm here. Whatever else is here, I'm here, and this is me. This is a story I want to tell about myself." The Vedas of India, holy books, are precise in their explanation of the different types of karma. Prarabdha karma is what you bring into your current life, and it must be lived out. If you're a saint, a scholar, a cook, highborn, lowborn, wealthy or poor, nobody gets a pass. I think of that concept sometimes when I remember these stories. Each person was living out his fate, and in the midst of that, he was also trying to stay connected with the best of what he was, the best of what life had given him. There was a type of peace and love, or the memory of such, existing in each person, even as they dealt with brutality. I learned from both that amid the worst trials, there still exists a seeking for connection, a desire for change. I try to look for it in every person I meet, no matter where they are in life or what they present to the world, to look for the gentle and the hard, the peaceful and the violent, and cherish when that part of a person's spirit reveals itself. Thank you. My cousin Belle does not live in a happy home. Her father, my Uncle Brad, and her mother, my Aunt Cassie, are both alcoholics. Brad is physically abusive of Cassie. Belle chooses to dance on the wild side of the street, maybe for distraction, maybe due to a misguided sense of survival. Her world is harsher than mine, a less civilized world with more elements of primal danger. Early on, she decides to educate me about her world. She teaches me out of love, sometimes through things we do, sometimes by talking. We genuinely care for each other, and she believes what she's doing will prepare me for life. That to survive, I need to know how the world works, and part of that is knowing how her world works. For my part, I love to spend time with her. It's exciting. She's beautiful, and the sharp edge of threat that's always present is addictive. While I'm working my way through 9th grade, Belle introduces me to Denny. He's her current man and is sometimes at Belle's when I visit. Denny is 21, with finely drawn features, an olive complexion, and amber eyes. About 5'7", he's well muscled, but in an understated way. The muscles are there, but they don't call attention to themselves. You notice his strength by the way he moves, gracefully, with certainty. There's also charisma, a charm he has that makes him comfortable to be around, even with the difference in our ages. One winter Saturday, I get to Belle's about noon. It's a bright, crisp day, windy. Belle's in a small room set up as a den with a couch, a few chairs, and a TV. Denny's there. I'm used to the undercurrents in a house where two alcoholics live and usually toss that strain aside to concentrate on Belle. Her personality makes it easy. But today is different. Something else is keeping company with us. We watch some TV. As Belle and Denny are talking, she gets up and starts pacing, agitated. He gets up too. I try to be invisible and just watch. They fight. She's angry about another girl. He starts by calmly protesting innocence, then eventually loses patience and the yelling starts. Finally, he says, "That's it, I'm out of here." Then, to my amazement, he says to me, "Come on, us guys can find something better to do than this." Us guys? I'm one of us guys? And we can do something just the two of us? The prospect is intoxicating. Denny, heading for the door, says, "You coming?" I look at Belle, the smallest piece of my conscience holding me back, wondering if my leaving will be a betrayal. Even after the argument with Denny and her still pulsating anger, Belle's concern for my education wins out and she says, "Go." I get in his black 1954 Ford Custom Line Club Coupe and we leave. We end up driving down River Road. It runs next to the west bank of the Housatonic River, heading north to Shelton. As we ride, he talks, mostly about his innocence, about how Belle got it wrong. Finally, I say, "Where are we going?" "My place," he says. "It's quiet there this time of day. Good place to think." When we get to Shelton, he turns off to the left, into the parking lot of a roadhouse where a neon sign flashes bar and grill, and underneath dancing, Friday and Saturday. Even from the parking lot, the place has the feel of what I eventually learned to call a dive bar. Later, the inside confirms this. We climb an outside staircase to an apartment above the club. At the top of the stairs, we enter into one long room. To the right, stretching the length of the room, is a counter broken by a stove, a refrigerator, and a sink. Above and below the counter are cabinets. In the center of the room is a long dark pine table with chairs. The TV is against the left wall. Two small armchairs flank it with a floor lamp between them. There are only two windows, each with sheer, faded gold curtains, washed out and limp. The room is dimly lit, even after Denny turns on the floor lamp and the light over the sink. Denny says, "I'll be right back," and goes downstairs. The place has a feel of the temporary. It says, "You're here, whoever you are, just for a while. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. People have been here before you and will be here after you." When Denny comes back, he says, "Wanted to let Ma know I'm here and check the schedule. You thirsty?" "Yeah." He gets a beer for each of us. "What schedule?" I ask. "For later. Ma runs the place downstairs. I tend bars sometimes. I'm on for tonight. You ever been in a roadhouse?" "No." "I'll take you down and show you around before we go, and you can meet her. No drinking for you there, though. Don't want to lose our license." "Sure," I say. "You lived here long?" "About 2 years. It's not a bad place, and we needed a place to live. We're on our own." The feel of doing guy things, of being in an adult world, colors my view of the place. The excitement of it pulls me into a dream of adventure. The beer helps. Still, there's a sadness that nibbles at the edges of my awareness. a sadness that this is home for Denny. He starts to talk about his life, how they got here. He clearly loves his mother and says little about his father, who left when he was young. Anytime he circles back to his dad, there's a pause. Then he talks about something else, other places they've lived, his mom's boyfriend, my cousin Belle, and how they'll be all right. It's like he wants to say something about his father, but doesn't know how. He's finishing his second beer when he says, "I want to show you something." He goes to one of the cabinets along the wall and comes back with a pistol, a revolver. This is all my dad left behind. He puts it on the table and sits down, looking at it. He used to bring it when we'd go out in the woods, to a stream, to fish. He always said, "Don't know what you'll run into, got to be ready." We went almost every weekend in the summer when I was about 10. Then we stopped. A year later, he was gone. Haven't been fishing since. But he left me his gun. I'm ready. I watch him pick it up, pop the cylinder, check it, then snap it back in place. "Here," he says and hands it to me. "Get the feel of it." I take it. It's heavier than it looks. Feels strange, charged with potential energy. It pulls at me, offers me power. Aim it at the clock over the sink. Cock the hammer, pull the trigger. Get a feel for it. I do. "Maybe I'll take you out shooting down by the river someday. We'll shoot at the buoys." Sounds good. Then he goes to the cabinet where he got the gun and returns with a black pouch. "Here, I'll show you how to clean it. I take it to work, keep it under the bar just in case I need it. Usually, I can handle whatever comes up with my fists if I need to. I'm good with my fists." He goes silent as he cleans the gun. I watch him, his hands, and realize I'm watching a ritual, a practical ritual that cares for the pistol, but also cares for, soothes him. A ritual that is dedicated to his father and keeps him in contact with his father, with the memory of his father. When he finishes, he says, "Come on, I'll show you downstairs and you'll meet Mom. Then I'd better get back to Belle. She's probably cooled off by now." All the way back, I wonder at what I've seen. His heart, the kindness, a glimpse of what's underneath the toughness Denny shows to the world. The person behind the bravado, the violence. The fact that he showed that to me right alongside his life at the roadhouse moves me. He accepted me into his world, and I never forget the gun. A few months later, he and Belle break up, but stay friends. The year I start college, Belle tells me Denny's heading up a local gang. She calls him Grasshopper now because he's a good source for drugs. I don't hear anything about him for 2 years. One spring night, when I'm home visiting, Belle calls in hysterics. I calm her down, and she tells me what's happened. Denny's gang is at war with another gang. That afternoon, he was in the parking lot of a drive-in hamburger stand in his car, alone. A rival gang member walked up to his car, put a gun to his head, and pulled the trigger. He's dead. The image freezes in my mind. The coarseness, the violence of it shakes me. I'm stuck there for a long moment, stuck somewhere I never want to be. I never want anyone to be. Then, I remember the day he took me home and shared some of his life with me. I remember that part of him, the kind part. I remember the person inside, the part of him that lived, stayed alive amid a harsh life, a fight for survival using the tools he had. I realize his love of, his connection with his father was one of those tools. As I take a deep breath, I remember the gun. I feel the weight of it in my hand. I think of his father in those fishing trips, and I wish Denny could have been ready. In 1968, I'm 20 and start working at the iconic coffee house, the Main Point, just outside of Philadelphia. This is a picture of the staff in front of the club. Primarily a folk venue, excuse me, We sometimes book rock acts. I work the door, cashier, and run the light panel for the shows. Part of my job involves performers, usually opening acts, staying at the apartment my roommate Larry and I share. Tim Hardin is one of the best songwriters of his generation, a headliner. People remember him for his song If I Were a Carpenter, but there are a host of other achingly beautiful creations. His songs have been covered by many artists, from Bob Dylan to Johnny Cash to the Four Tops to Willie Nelson. As a performer, he blends folk, blues, and jazz. His voice is startlingly pure. I especially remember 2 of the times he played the club. It's well known that he's a heroin addict. All that creative force and talent lashed to a brutal addiction. Tim served as a Marine in Vietnam, and the addiction came back with him. A friend, Paul Jeremiah, a master of country blues, shared a house with him in the early days when they were living in Greenwich Village. Paul tells how often, the morning after a gig, Tim would get up and immediately head for the door. If Paul asked where he was going, the response was always the same. Back to the club. I left my medicine there. I remember when Tim played the Main Point in 1971. His 8 o'clock show on Thursday night is sold out and is a disaster. He wanders around the stage as he tries to do his first few songs, then leaves the stage and refuses to go back until the next show. The second show is the same. Customers are irate. We have to give refunds to the audience. He's lost deep in his addiction. Nobody knows what to do. Business concerns aside, it's devastating to watch him. The loss of the person, of the human being, is terrible to witness. The loss of the artist just compounds the sense of waste and pain. This is a human being who's one of the most talented artists of his generation. Nobody at work knows what to do for him as a human being. So, at the club, concern switches to the business side. Yet even there, nobody knows what to do. When it seems we may need to cancel the week, Jamie Brockett, who plays the Main Point often, shows up. He's seen Tim like this before and explains what we can do to stop him from wandering off stage. If you can keep him on stage, he'll do some kind of show, he says. Get chairs. Use them to block the aisles. After a few songs, when he looks around for a way to leave the stage, he won't find one. When there's no place for him to go, he'll forget he was about to leave, stay on stage, and continue to play. Then he'll probably get more focus as he plays. When his time's up on stage, remove the chairs, and he'll walk off. We try it. And it works. They aren't the greatest shows, but they're shows. And since he completes the week, we can pay him. But it's heartbreaking, especially when I remember the previous time he played the club. In November 1970, he stayed at our apartment. He was a nice guy, full of energy. He had what we used to call a ready smile. At the apartment one afternoon, he calls Larry and me into his room. He's excited, almost childlike, as he announces, "Susan's coming tonight to stay till the end of the gig. We got a motel room. She's bringing our son, Damien." Then, with a sense of triumph, he says, "And I'm off the drugs. Here, look." He puts a brown briefcase with gold-colored latches on the bed and opens it. "I'm off the drugs. I just need to take this and I'm fine." The briefcase is overflowing with pills and bubble packs. Maybe methadone, maybe something else. I look at the pills. Seems like they could stock a pharmacy, and don't know how to put "off the drugs" together with what I'm seeing. Then it hits me. He is off the drugs. He can deal with whatever is in the briefcase. It's nothing for him to deal with. It's manageable compared to heroin. "That's great, man," I say. His shows that November are magic. One man, a guitar, and his songs. Everything is flawless. At each performance, he effortlessly takes us to a different world, a better place, and shows us what beauty is. To this day, I've not seen anyone do it better. I never again see him as good as he was the week his wife came, but I never see him repeat the lost week when he was just not there. Years later, heroin finally claims him, and he dies of an overdose. I remember his music, of course. Remember his stellar performances. It was all the best of what art can offer: peace, beauty, transcendence. Though I can't deny seeing him at his worst, my mind rarely goes there. Instead, I go to that day at the apartment. I feel the energy, the hope, and the commitment he had, at least for a while, to his wife and son. It was as if that part of him had surfaced, and he tried to hold on to it. He couldn't. The deck was stacked against him. But even so, it was still there, was a story he tried to tell. The heroin may have killed his body, but I believe it could never kill that. I believe the drive to connect, to mend a wounded spirit, to rise above, is always there, somewhere in each of us, if not always at the surface. I saw that in Denny and Tim, saw them reaching out to tell the best story about themselves they could, and in the telling, try to make it come true. Both these stories shaped me, my beliefs and values, and brought me closer to UU values. To try, no matter how hard, to search for the best in someone when they are at their worst is surely an act of love, and love is at the center of our values. Recognizing that every person has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion, even when their manifesting fate makes it difficult or prevents it, is the UU value of equity. Seeing my interdependence, another UU value, with those in greatly different circumstances from myself, helped me later in life to work to repair the damage in challenging relationships. Both Denny and Tim helped me recognize the UU values of love, interdependence, and equity. Their lives moved me to seek growth in both understanding and acting on those values, to make them part of my story.
Thank you, Greg. Let us pause to honor the silences of the world as we enter a brief time of quiet reflection and meditation. I'll ring the bell and we'll have 1 minute of quiet, and then I'll ring the bell again. So let us sing together hymn number 324, Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads. And Laura will accompany. Please stand as you are willing and able. Now let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this church, which is so important to so many of us. We gratefully dedicate this offering to the good of the church, the wider congregation, and the world. If you make automatic pledge payments, you can place one of the yellow cards indicating the support in the offering basket. And if you want today's contribution to count toward your annual pledge, please put it in an envelope with your name on it so that we know who to credit it to. Thank you.
There are two parts to today's closing words. The first is from C.S. Lewis, the scholar, novelist, and Anglican lay theologian, from his essay on stories. When he speaks of myth, his observations apply to stories in general. The value of the myth is that it takes all the things we know and restores them to the rich significance which has been hidden by the veil of familiarity. The child enjoys his cold meat, otherwise dull to him, by pretending it is buffalo, just killed with his own bow and arrow. And the child is wise. The real meat comes back to him more savory for having been dipped in a story. By putting bread, gold, horse, apple, or even the very roads into a myth, we do not retreat from reality, we rediscover it. The second part is from a proverb that is widely attributed to Native American source. Tell me the facts, and I'll learn. Tell me the truth, and I'll believe. But tell me a story, and it will live in my heart forever.
Let us carry the flame of the chalice into the world, serving others with love and a sense of justice. Please join me in reading the words provided as we extinguish the chalice. From this ground, let us sow mercy, justice, and compassion. Let us offer our stories to provide our staples of wisdom, and when we do, let us create and experience the presence and affirmation that allows us to connect with our theological imaginations so that the harvest of our faith will be abundant grace. Before our closing song, we have time for a few brief announcements. Please come to the podium if you have some announcements to make. Okay, we have Lynn and we have Lisa, and I also have one. Oh, go for it.
There are more copies of the blank music survey out in the social hall, so please, if you haven't filled one out already, go ahead and do so. We really need your input. I'm so excited to have a carload of styrofoam that I'm going to take. Buffy brought a whole huge batch of it, so keep bringing in that styrofoam. Also, there are some more copies of the directory of members and friends out in the social hall. So if you'd like a copy of that directory, help yourself.
Hello. I wanted to let folks know that there is a group called Stand Up for Racial Justice. They are having a virtual meeting on Thursday, January 16th at 8 o'clock called Our Work in the Days Ahead, a Conversation for Anti-Racist White People with Angela Davis. If you're interested in joining in, it's a Zoom meeting basically, but if you're interested in joining in that, let me know. I can send you the link so that you can join in. Again, that's Thursday, January 16th from 8 o'clock Eastern Standard. And that's a conversation with Angela Davis. If you're interested, let me know.
Hi, everyone. Just a couple of announcements. I just wanted to remind people that the doors right here are locked during service because when they open and close, they shake the camera for the Zoom people. So I'm just reminding everyone, please don't use those doors until service is over. The outside doors, we're just having a little issue with them. So if you come and use the doors, please make sure to check both doors, that both doors are locked, because sometimes the locking door will lock and then the secondary door won't be locked and it'll be open. So just keep an eye on that if you could. We're working on getting the problem fixed. And the last thing is, today is hopefully going to be the refrigerator move. We're waiting for David Love to get back with the van. So barring any complications, if you are going to help with that, we're going to meet in the social hall after service, and once we confirm we have a van and people, we will take off and do that. So if you would like to help, just come find me out in the social hall after. Thanks.
Just a reminder that everybody's invited to stay after the service for conversation and coffee and tea and goodies.
And thank you to Laura for always providing those refreshments for us. That's absolutely. Yep. Yep. Okay.
Fellowship Committee wanted me to let everyone know that there will be a socializing at Arlen's Good Beer in Bowling Green immediately following the service next Sunday on January 19th.
That kind of complicates my announcement, but I'll let everyone figure it out for themselves. So next week, Sue Drake couldn't be here today. Sue is our caring committee coordinator, and she asked me to make an announcement that next week after service, there will be a planning meeting for Connie Sauter-Roth's memorial service. That memorial will take place on March 22nd. That's a Saturday. But next week after service is the planning meeting. So if anybody would like to be involved in that conversation, please plan to stay after service next Sunday. Thank you. Okay, if that's all for announcements, we always have a lot. We will do our closing song. Our closing song for today is hymn number 190, Light of Ages and of Nations. Laura will accompany, and please stand as you are willing and able. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and please stay for coffee hour if you're so inclined. Bye-bye.